and welcome to another edition of How I Fucked Up, the podcast from Copacino Fujikato. My name's Andrew Gall, Executive Creative Director, and I like to talk to people in the marketing and advertising industry about mistakes that they've made and what they've learned from it along the way. So I'm really excited for my guest today. His name is Chris Gardner. He's the founder of Isla Design, and he's a designer, artist, art director, photographer. I've worked with him on a ton of projects over the years, ranging from Huggies banner ads where we had a baby roll across the screen to some pretty wild stuff in AI that we're doing now for a lot of different clients. So Chris, thank you so much for being with us. Hope you're having a great
Pleasure
day.
to be here. Thank you very much.
So would love to hear a little bit about what you do on the day-to-day for clients, agencies, etc. What's your main mode of what you make for people?
Well, the funny thing is I used to be like almost exclusively doing like motion graphics, and slowly I got into all the other things too. I took on some like entrepreneurial projects on my own and like about 10 years ago, and there was like sort of a creative blossoming in which I, in true entrepreneur fashion, had to learn to do all sorts of things. Learned all sorts of things, and now I do all sorts of things. And then AI came around and sort of like amplified all those abilities. So that is what I'm about. I do a ton of stuff every day. I work 12 hours a day. I get home before I go to bed. I put in about 4 hours before I go to bed. I did that very thing last night, and I'm very tired.
Well, we'll try to keep this upbeat and exciting, so you don't fall asleep from the sound of my soothing voice. So, entrepreneurial wise, was that something that you always wanted to do, or is that something that kind of happened, or how did you end up just kind of doing your own thing?
Yeah, speaking of fuck up. So I went to USC Entrepreneurial Business School, and it was only probably my senior year that I was just like, holy shit, like I hate business. It's like the most like, yeah, okay, you think of like entrepreneurial business and like starting companies, and that's all exciting and stuff, but there's a lot of like accounting and like operations management and stuff that I fucked up because I should have been at the art center. That would have sort of accelerated my progress. But yeah, looking at spreadsheets all day and like bullshitting is not what I want to do, as it turns out. So I'm much better suited now. But it was funny, like during college, I was like making websites and like cool stuff. And I was like worshiping these like web developer guys and like animators that I later ended up working with. Some were like my good friends now. So a lot of twists and turns.
We worked with you at Ogilvy, which was, gosh, it was like 14 years ago.
So long ago, yeah.
And yeah, and then as soon as Vince landed here, we called you up, and
nice.
It's been steady ever since. So I think that spider web, those long-term relationships, it's such a big deal, and it's such a huge part of our business. If you find someone good who's like your go-to, like let's just, I'll just text you, or Vince will text you or whatever. I'm just like, man,
exactly.
we got a thing. Let's talk about how to figure it out, which has been really awesome from a work perspective for us to just have that shorthand with you, especially in this day and age where everyone's doing more with less, client budgets are smaller. We're looking for people that can do a lot of stuff and just figure it out, and figure it out fast and have a varied skill set. I think that you're our go-to, especially for a lot of things, but especially for, this is what I want to do. I have no idea if we can. Here's a guy that's open to trying to figure it out, and 99.99% of the time we'll figure out a way to figure it out. And I think that that's, word gets around with people like you. I hesitate to want to even put this out because I feel like you're going to like, it's kind of a best kept secret for us because you've helped us in so many ways. And especially with the advent of AI and all the different tools that didn't exist 10 years ago. I mean, even when our first project, and this is the last time I'll bring up the baby that rolls across the banner, but it's like, we're doing a banner ad that we want more than 0.0001% of the population to click on. Is there a way that we could make it a little bit more interesting? And we had a baby roll across the entire screen. And that at the time was fairly innovative for that space. And it still is like one of my favorite
Would you touch the baby with your mouse? Where we would like kick the mouse away with this little,
right.
And it's kind of fun.
And so even back then, with fewer tools, you were figuring out ways to break out of, okay, what's possible here? Let's figure out a way to make something that no one's ever could do in the day to day. It's a lot
Love
different than
that.
just like, hey, here's a banner where type's going to come in, type's going to fly out. And so I think that from my perspective, having worked with you, that's always been in you to have that skill set. But now it's like 10, 14 years later, now you have more tools, and it feels like you're still curious with all those different tools, which is probably what leads you to a lot of varied projects for different clients and different agencies.
So true. And like keeping up with those various tools, like I really think of creativity in general. Actually, I drew this crazy ass little diagram for my children recently as I try to explain this stuff to them. But it's like, think of the brain regions in the mind. There's like the part of that does language, there's the part that does vision, there's the part that like kind of strings sentences together. All these different parts of the brain are isolated, but this vast network forms between them where there's like communication going on and a synthesis of information. So to me, like creativity really is a synthesis of knowing how to do all sorts of disciplines. And then what happens is that, I mean, like, here's another example. So like Einstein did a synthesis of his ability to visualize things mixed with his mathematical ability. Then he had that sudden vision where he like saw the lightning striking the tower like in his mind. And then the mathematics kicked in and like did its thing. And that was really where that like creative vision came from. So yeah, the more skills I learn, the more I seem to have all these like visions. I had one just like last night. I was like taking my first step down the stairs, and all of a sudden like something hit me in the face, and I had like a solution to a problem. Synthesizing lots of different disciplines equals like ultimate creative results and allows you to see what can be done. But I'll say one last thing, which is that in the world of AI now, there's so much that can be done that I like people ask me, can it be done? And my answer is like, not like, oh, we'll see. It's like, my answer is always like, let me just try to prove it first. I want to prove it for myself and for you. And because I can like give you something tangible, like, boom, there it is. Like, it's going to work. I find that it's really compelling to clients.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a great segue, because I want to spend a lot of this discussion about AI, because in our halls, you're our AI savant. I know that you're tight with some of the higher level people and some of the higher level AI companies, and I want to talk about how that relates to fuck ups and things that you've discovered, because it's moved so freaking fast,
Oh yeah.
in the ad industry, and I just remember when it first became a thing, and us trying to put a program in place to make sure that we're staying up on top of things and logging like daily. For a while we logged daily use cases to try to just get people who weren't doing it to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that when we've heard from other small agencies like ours, we're still doing a pretty good job staying up. Obviously you can't, it's always going to be changing. So like, let's talk about AI and fuck ups specifically. What can you tell me about the world of AI, mistake making, fuck ups, and things that you've experienced being such a savant in that space?
Thank you for that. I don't know if I'm a savant in this regard, but well, I don't know, maybe. It's like sometimes I'm like, anybody could do this, and then I literally try to train people on how to do it. They can't do it. I'm like, okay, maybe they can't do it. But like, okay, so AI I've never had more laugh attacks in my life from all the fuck ups. I had one yesterday that was like, the guy's head popped off and became a bird, flew away. I'm like, oh my God. And now some of the programs, there's built-in sound effects that come along with what you're maybe like turning things into video. And oh my God, they're so bad, unbelievably bad and hilarious. But okay, so where it really gets interesting to me is the fact that like AI is a fuck up machine. Like Midjourney, for example, and others like it are blind watchmakers. So you're kind of like, okay, let's try to make this thing. Let's like I'm going to describe something that I'm envisioning. Let's see if you can make it. And often it's like absurdly screwed up.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit, how did you get to that?
Exactly. But think of the bell curve where like, okay, there's a bell curve. The thing that you want is on the peak of the bell curve, but there's maybe something that's like way to the side of the bell curve that you would have never thought of, that the AI might just do if you ramp up things like, chaotic results. And it's become almost a science by which, like, I actually gave this example in a demonstration of the company where someone was like, I was imagining someone's like, all right, we're gonna have a mascot, and the mascot is a angry banana, right? And like, let's all picture that for a second, like an angry banana. Okay, it's like, it's like a banana man, and he's got like a frowny face, and maybe he's got little arms and legs and like white gloves. That's what I'm just like picturing right now. But let's put that into AI, and like, okay, before we do that, let's picture like some other angry banana. Okay, maybe it's like green, it's like plantain. It's got like big eyes or small eyes, got like big feet. Maybe he's holding a knife. I can do these like mental in my mind variations of things that are like, classic standard like art director ideas that, let's brainstorm something, you
Yep.
come up with a certain amount of things. But when you go into the world of AI now, it's like, okay, I'm going to make my banana, I'm going to give it vague parameters. So I don't really want it to be specific. I'm not going to program the white gloves or the actual color of the banana. Let's just see what happens, And in my demo, I came up with all sorts of crazy bananas, and then there's all sorts of crazy adjacent bananas. And then suddenly it became like a angry monkey holding a banana. And it's like, okay, in my mind, I was like, this is very interesting. It's not what I intended, but clients, just as well as art directors, we get locked into these mental ruts of like, well, okay, the banana is yellow with spots, okay, whatever. But imagine then seeing all these new ideas where there's like the monkey warrior. Now there's the angry gorilla, and he's got like a half a banana hat, but he's got this like really funny facial expression and stuff like that. It's a fuck up, right? It's
Yeah.
not what we asked for, yet we can look at that and be like, whoa, like that is such like a original idea. And I find that clients and art directors often get do you know the word demo-itis? Is that being
Oh,
passed
sure.
around? Yeah.
Demo love.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and then there's constantly that like, oh man, go back to that gorilla with the hat on. I can't get that out of my mind, And the fact that we're not like showing them like sketches of ideas or describing ideas, we're showing them like almost a final product. Clients really understand that and can like really relate to it, and it sticks in their mind way more. And so you're able to sell ideas, not just at a rapid clip, but unusual things that you would have never been able to comp up before.
And the fuck up there is the fact that you don't really know what's going to happen, what's
Yeah.
going to come out. And it's really interesting because, to your point, you can show something that's way more polished quicker, and that can lead to, okay, say they bought the original plantain with the eyes, but then you've got this other thing that's right there in front of them. That's a lot different than having a conversation about, okay, well, it's gonna be this plantain with the eyes, and
No,
then
no. Stick to the normal direction.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Like,
Right.
I'm not like, let's just not like go crazy here, right?
Right.
But there's no excuse not to now. And they're like, oh, maybe I get it now.
Have you seen that happen a lot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Every single project. Yeah. And like I deliberately do these types of chaotic fuck ups, and I'm always pinging like David H to get more chaotic abilities in there. Though I find that like chaos in Midjourney especially is pretty interesting and compelling, and you can almost tune what you're doing to produce, well, I think of it as no, I won't get into it too much, but you can get it to where it's making a ton of different results that are within your parameters of like artistic beauty or whatever it is, but it's giving you lots of random things that are very useful. I'm always after the basic algorithms by which I can get the highest rate of like good stuff coming out of the AI per amount of like prompts I actually do. So there, yeah, it's like a fuck up ratio.
So in your mind, when it comes to AI, specifically when it comes to designing an AI, the fuck up ability is the feature, not the bug.
Oh yeah, without question. Like it really, and like when you think about it, the AI can fuck up all day long. Like let us say there's some AI over there and it's generating images all day. Well, it doesn't know what is good or what can be turned into something, but it's like you would put an experienced art director into the seat of the designer that's guiding the process, and they see the ideas develop. And that's where like the sort of creativity comes in, because there are some types of clients, I'm sure who are not imaginative, and they don't really like see like, okay, you might send them an image and they're like, well, what's with that guy's toenail? And you're
Right.
like, ah, don't look at the toenail. Just like, let's focus on the big idea. And then there are some that are like, yeah, I can kind of see that idea developing. Let's actually push it in that direction. Obviously, like clean this up, but yeah, I see where it's going. Like the lighting and the composition and stuff. And like that to me is like crucial. Yeah.
It's great. So, can you think of an experience with AI where it was a fuck up in a bad way? Something that happened that you learned from that was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that outcome as a result of working with AI.
Well, I mean, there is this aspect to AI where you're like playing roulette or you're pulling the slot machine down. You're like, just one more, just one more. And like I've done things like, for example, I was working with a company. It's actually the founder of Marvel Studios, and he wanted his character doing specific things for tests. And it's like, okay, well, let's try to get him to do this. That didn't work. But we found a very interesting property. When he turns and he does this thing with his hair, and like that now his hair is moving in this way at that. And then the creative director's like, wow, like the way his hair moves in that, let's apply that to like everything else. So it's like, it wasn't the intent, but I'm always trying to get people to say like, let's just try like literally 200 of these simulations like today. And we're just going to keep an open mind. We're going to see what happens. And we're not going to get too locked into anything so that when a fuck up occurs that is actually amazing and good, we can quickly adopt that. Right. I mean, granted, the amount of like literal fucks up, we tried to get this character to like jump off a cliff and spread its wings. And oh my God, we went through like 1,000. They're just, each one was stupider than the next. And it's just like, that's the type of fuck up where you're like, okay, we got to really rethink how we are going to approach this. The AI is not interpreting our vision correctly. And then we like research methods. And then before you know it, there's like some new protocol that like totally fixes all those problems. And, for
So,
example, you can put like a start frame and an end frame. Those things were revelations.
so again, this is a fuck up that leads to a new way of doing it, which is really interesting. So, you find that sometimes with that example, the 1,000 iterations, there's a point where you put your digital pencil down. You say, this is diminishing returns. Let's step back. And
Yep.
inevitably, when you've done that, you've still found a better way to do it.
Well, it gets you thinking, but at least you now have the experience to know that like that particular approach is not going to work. And those types of experiments have definitely led me up to this kind of sense of what's going to work and what's not going to work. I know some things work really well. I know some things like don't work well at all. I'm about to try to animate a character dunking a basketball, and I'm a little worried about that because like it's probably not going to work for a long time until it does, and I'm going to have to like figure out how to do it. But it seems to always work in the end. I had the feedback between the artist and AI must be constant. It's like navigating somewhere on a boat. That's the analogy that I use. And you're constantly like taking a star reading, testing the water, and then like you check again in like 5 minutes to see if like you're constantly on the same path. Sometimes it veers off into little circles and you got to get back on the right path or like step away and figure out how better to approach things. But yeah, it's just like this constant, insane motion of like trying things, trying the new thing. Oh God, there's a new program. I don't have time to learn that. Something to do tomorrow. And then like, some new technology will come out and solve all your problems tomorrow.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
was going to ask you about that. How do you deal with that? Are you just constantly from a mindset? You're just open. You're trying things day after day. And then when new programs or new solves come out, you're figuring out a way to insert those into your workflow.
That's exactly
how
right.
it works?
Yeah, pretty much. And there, like in this Marvel project, which had lasted 6 months, I remember there was a moment where I was working with a programmer who was helping us train the model. Um, he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to wait till new technology comes out in order to solve that problem." And it was 2 days later, and something came out, and we were like fucking on it. We were on it. We tried it. We're like, "Oh my God, it actually solves our problem. Let's put this to work instantly." And then we like furthered our experiments in that protocol. And we learned like a ton of new stuff. We brought forward our new capabilities to show what we could do. We demonstrated it. And that in turn gets the creative director and the company owner thinking about like, oh, guess we can do that now. That's interesting. So like a suite of capabilities is constantly increasing and it will continue to do so.
And
Yeah.
it's just all
It's tough
about,
to keep up.
and it's all about remaining open to it, right? And I think that that's why you're successful, is that you've figured out a way somehow in your 12 to 14 hour work days that
No.
you can continue to just experiment and try stuff, right?
True. Yeah.
And that's a hard thing, especially as you get older and later in your career, regardless of what you're working on or in, to have that mindset, because I think you inevitably with any job, especially in an advertising job, you can get kind of jaded and over it. So I think it's impressive.
Salty advertisers? I've never heard of such a thing.
I think it's really impressive that you're still just like kind of doing it, but in a way, for what you do, it's part of the job, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm personally, sometimes you see these images that are coming out of, I know, people like roast me for this, but it's like, some of these AI images are highly compelling in various ways. And it's like, I'm not just going to take that image and like do something with it, but it just shows you ideas of what can be done. And like we consult Pinterest all day long, every day, often designers, to see what can be done, except that those things are all things that other people have done in time. And we can't just like go yank those ideas. AI is different. It's giving you like stuff that's never quite been done before. And, people have this misconception that like, oh, you just put stuff into AI with the model and you get stuff out. It's just the same thing. Well, it's not that at all. It does all sorts of crazy things that we've never seen before. And so recognizing those new ideas is like part of the name of the game. But I was going to mention one thing that I tend to do, which is that people come to me and they want little like pitches and demonstrations of like, oh, I just got one yesterday. I was like, what could you do with this can? Someone's designing a new can. I got this can product and I'm like, let me try, and I was like up late last night doing like 8 things at once. One thing was simulating and I was like making cans with the other. And I was like, holy shit, these cans are so good looking. I've never seen good looking cans, anything like this. And it's like, okay, what if I try to combine this with that? Oh my God, it's even better. So it's like a constant, like, and then I get to come back to those people and show them what I've done before an even project has started. And they're like, oh my God, you could actually, I've never seen anything like this. And they're like, can you start tomorrow? I'm like, no, I can't. I'm so busy. But, and then, they'll come back. And so it's like, I guess the point is that doing pitches now is like much more organic, interesting process of discovery by which we discover all new things in the process of pitching, and it's rapid, right? So that's one of the reasons that I keep up with the technology. It's just fun to do these things all the time.
I really got to see this can. So
yeah, you want to see the cans? So good.
I think what you said was interesting in that AI isn't just spitting out what you're telling it. It's helping you. It's taking it to other places, and I think that's where creative professionals, and I'm just going to speak in the name of self-preservation, can still add value, because you can creative direct it and you can tell it, oh, I can see you can do this. Well, what if we did this, or what if we built on it? And that's not a skill that everybody has, that it takes experience to get to that skill too, because it's still an idea forward business.
Let
right?
me further that point. Okay. I was really excited at one point to go into the upper echelon of like AI creation channels. I wonder what these guys are making. And my face was like, everyone is bad at it. Mm-hmm. There's no one that's good at it, because what AI does is amplify your own abilities. And I am going to evoke the classic analogy that I use. It's called kid with a calculator. Imagine you give a kid a calculator. What do they do with it? This is fun. Oh my gosh, look, I made boobs. Oh wow, what if I hit these buttons? Look at this crazy number. I'm done. Right? Yep. That is the current state of AI. Mm-hmm. A bunch of people who don't know math are using calculators. They're like, look at this funny number. Now, imagine, on the other hand, you give a calculator to Pythagoras, who did not have access. We would probably have had jet engines and quantum computers thousands of years beforehand, because what the calculator does to them is it amplifies their existing abilities so they can free up their minds from doing bullshit and reach higher abstractions faster. And that is sort of the state of AI. Without taste, without your ability to know what a good sentence is, without your ability to know what a good art is or what's compelling and interesting, what you have is people making garbage nonstop. And that is I mean, like they talk about the AI garbage revolution. There's like completely accurate, you know. But to certain people, it really like they see things in it. Oh, here's another thing is that like, let us say that you make a cool Coke can. Okay, good, great. I made this picture of this Coke can. Well, what is like if you don't have the ability to turn that into something real, if you don't have the ability to know how a printer works and what you can and cannot put on a Coke can, that thing is just worth nothing, you know?
Right.
So imagine on the other hand, you're a great writer like you are, seeing a great sentence in AI that you yourself conjured up. You're like, this is almost there. Like, this is
Almost
great.
there.
I
Yep.
recognize this. Yeah.
85, 90% there.
And then you are able to not just bring it into something that is real, like for example, an advertisement, but just to modify it and make it your own, you know?
I love that. That's a great answer. There's a lot of winning sound bites in there, not limited to the Pythagoras comparison, which I love. We've got to him and Einstein. So that leads me to, there's this Western Washington University where I went to college has a really strong design program. We got an intern out of there last year, and he's made a ton of great stuff. There's another kid that sent me this video he made the other day in Blender, and it's killer. So what advice would you have to, because we talked about the experience factor and the need to know garbage versus not, what advice would you have to the youngers, designers, writers, anyone that's trying to get in the creative field right now that doesn't have that experience to know as it relates to the tools that they can use with AI?
Excellent question. I actually just got off the phone. It was last week with it was from your agency. Someone recommended that I talk to like a 20-year-old person, and I had a nice conversation with him. And my recommendation was emphatic, which was to learn all the programs. Maybe not all of them, but this young person was into photography, and photography is great. Photography is one thing. You should learn photography. You should learn After Effects, motion graphics, Blender, freaking awesome tool. Get yourself into things like ZBrush. Get into like mastering Photoshop. I am super into Fusion these days. Fusion is incredibly important. It's the program that I use to turn I go through this process now that I always find fascinating, which is that I design a little thing at night in Fusion, and I print it out, and I have it in my hand within 30 minutes. And what I do once it's in my hand is I kind of do this. Actually, here's one. I'm like, oh, look, it's a little iridescent thing, but the magnet didn't quite fit, right? And so I kind of go back and I make it again, except I add like a millimeter, and then I print it out again. And before you know it, I have it in my hand. And 3D printing is going to be such like a large part of our future that I super recommend it. But it's funny because Fusion is difficult because it's not a design program. It's a CAD program. And things don't like look good. Like you can't texture things in a way that look great. Blender, on the other hand, and Cinema 4D, which is what I use, you can make things look amazing and beautiful, just like they look in real life. So you have to sort of know how in Blender things are gonna look because you're working in wireframes and then you turn it into a render. In Fusion, you have to like transpose that knowledge on to what will look good in things that like look blocky and dorky in these programs. So again, like the synthesis of all these things are going to lead to a bunch of young rock star people. But I'll also say that when I was young, I didn't spend enough time learning new things. I learned a few things and I got good at them, and I got hired right off the bat. It was like motion graphics and a few other things. And it turns out that we all have the capacity to learn like a ton of stuff. Like I could have been doing that, like CAD, like learning how to do sound. I never quite learned how to do sound stuff. But once you learn how to do all these things, you're going to be like incredible and it's like each one thing is going to be way better, because now instead of just doing Fusion, you can actually go take your camera and take a picture of an object, bring it into Fusion, and like know how to manipulate that. So yeah, that's my strong recommendation, is put off the AI stuff. AI is interesting and cool, but let us say that you are an architect and you make like, oh, I'm an architect because I do AI architecture. Look at the building I made. You didn't make a building, you made a picture. turning that picture into a building can be done, but it requires the skills that we need to cultivate early in life.
You
How's
just
that?
identified a young Chris Gardner fuck up, which was
Yeah.
you didn't diversify enough early on in
Uh,
what you learned. And I think that
I yeah.
that might be a
That's
big
good.
difference between how we were raised in this business and how it is now, because I think the people that we look for now and the people that have success are the people you described that know a ton about a lot of different things and can almost be like that one person go to in terms of your skill set. And I think as
That's
this
true.
business has evolved, it hasn't become a nice to have, it's become a necessity to continue
Agreed.
to get interesting work. So
Think about, for example, one thing which is like something that is not me, it's not personal, but think about a person that's being hired by Google, right? One is a programmer who like he knows how to do web apps and he's good at that. And he does his web apps and he then goes and like, he does golf, right? But then there's a different class of person, and I've met one. Actually, you know what's funny? Back in that Huggies campaign, I basically encountered it was my dad's son. He was I think he was 10 years old at the time. He was like shadowing me to see what I did. And it turns out that he was a programming prodigy. And he would go home and he would program and he would like blindly go through code and he slowly figured it out on his own. And he just became so good. And he knew like all the languages within like 3 years. But that's another thing that like Leonardo da Vinci did that was just unlike anyone else is he had this insane curiosity. He was so curious about like how proportions were, and he was always in the woods, like drawing things and analyzing his own drawings. And it was because of that sort of obsessive behavior that caused him to become so good at things. So it's like one of the questions that I try to wonder constantly is how do you motivate young people who are kind of disinterested to begin with to really try to be interested in the thing? It's like I have a 10-year-old daughter that I'm making learn fusion every night. She's 11. And she's kind of like, can we do something different? And I'm like, sorry, but you cannot. You must do this. But luckily, I tried to make something that's like for her. Like we built this really interesting like makeup. It's like a rail system, and we were making little things that like each piece of her makeup like fits into a little slot, and then that slots into the rail system. So there's like a lot of little makeups we have to like put into little like custom slots in 3D. But luckily, my other child, my boy, is just like really interested in programming. He's really interested in all sorts of things. And I think that maybe, hopefully, it's in part because of my enthusiasm. Like, I'm like, oh man, this is like programming is like so meaningful. You can do so much shit with it. And like, oh man, I wish I had done this, but you're way ahead, kid. And like, he likes that. He's like, I'm ahead. He actually just told me yesterday, he was like, did you know the founder of Minecraft started programming when he was 8? And I'm 7 and I'm doing it. I was like, yes.
that's
So,
awesome. I love that.
yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna be my boss one day. I can't wait.
Well, I don't know, but hopefully,
And
but
then we'll hire you to work freelance for them.
sure. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to him being my boss someday. I'm going to be bossed around for sure. But
Uh,
yeah, I posed that question to you. It's like, what is the best way to get people like really interested in? Okay, let me phrase this a different way. Let us say that there's a 15-year-old kid, and his 45-year-old self comes back in time and gets to spend like 30 minutes with this kid who was himself. How would you possibly motivate this kid to learn something complicated? How? What do you think?
Man, I think just trying it, just play around with it, for 10 minutes. Just, I don't know, it's hard. Motivation with kids today is a whole different, is a whole different conversation,
Oh yeah.
but I'm just like, just play around with it, make it, gamify it somehow, make it interesting somehow. I feel like that's the only way to break through for attention at this point,
Yeah.
right?
You know what? Another strategy that I've thought about in it with myself is that, like, imagine that, like, okay, let's use Fusion again, which is this CAD program that I use. When you watch someone do Fusion, it can look complicated. It's like, oh, I'm like hitting a bunch of buttons and I'm moving a bunch of things around in a complicated way. And you might see that and you're like, oh, it's just too much. I can't even begin to do that. That's one thought. And then you start to do it and you're what I call left-handed at it. It's like imagine trying to use a mouse with your left hand. It's like so frustrating. You're like, oh, I can't quite, you know what? Screw this. I'm tired of this. It's not my brain hurts. I'm leaving,
Right.
and then your feeling about Fusion then is nothing but frustration. Right. So, and I try to say to the kids, I'm like, look, do you know why you don't like Fusion that much? You know the reason why you don't like Fusion is because you're not good at it. Why you're not good at it is because you haven't practiced enough. But what's going to happen after you give it the amount of practice and deal with the frustration is that you're going to start to get good all of a sudden. And imagine that, like, kid starts riding a bike and he's like, she's bad at it. She falls down. Then she starts riding again. She's not good at it. And her friends are off riding bikes. She's like frustrated and all this stuff, bad emotions. Oh, screw this. I'm not riding the bike. But let's just give it like another few days. And all of a sudden you start to get good. And there's this moment where you're like, oh my God, I'm doing it. This is fun. So getting them to like that moment where they have this like sort of like revelation that it's like, I'm doing it. It's working is to me one of the cornerstones of like carrying through to becoming great at anything.
Same as anything else. This is my son playing catch with my son the other day. It was the exact same experience. He's like, this is actually kind of fun on day 3. I'm like, there it is. So that applies to anything, whether it's Fusion, riding a bike, playing catch. This has been great. I really appreciate the time, Chris.
Sure.
We mentioned Pythagoras, Da Vinci, and Einstein all in
Nice.
less
Cool.
than an hour. So I feel
all
like
those
we've
fuck ups
covered a lot of good ground. But yeah, I really appreciate the time. This has been an awesome conversation. So thank you so much.
Great.
And
of course, I'm happy to help.
I'll be seeing you on a call probably tomorrow for one of our
you
like 7
got work to
projects we're
do.
on. So thanks everybody. Join us next time on How I Fucked Up. Have a great day.